I am Mark Stewart Greenstein. I am candidate for the Senate, and I have my first questionnaire, so I want to respond on video to, we'll do 2 a day, and there are, I think, 20 questions in here. So get ready. I'll begin with the first and what I think is the most irresponsible of the questions, okay? It asks, will you, under any circumstances, vote to increase any taxes? All right, here's the situation. We're in an extraordinary circumstance right now where we haven't understood how to pay for our obligations for the last 70 years. Okay, literally, it was in the 1940s that we went off track and started putting money into promises of state pensions that we didn't support. Okay, so it is immoral. It is borders on evil towards future generations to foist on them when they have no control over the spending that you do. So, you will see me as a bulwark against spending. I'm the candidate who would be the Dr. No of the Senate. When it comes to a proposal that's asking for anything other than the necessary, the answer is no. We don't spend on just nice things. We don't. We might spend on things that I would call investments. Investments that are almost sure to return more than they bring out. Now, the first 5 exemplifies it. I don't think it was done very well. But when you know or are highly likely to return more money than you invest, and the travel and tourism investment almost certainly would pay off, paying off more money to get more flights in and out of our airports, Tweed, Bradley, and maybe even the 4 little regional airports that make us more of a Northeast conduit to good commerce. That's worthy because it'll almost certainly pay itself back. Now, don't get flimsy with that when you say, oh, but job programs are also in that category. They haven't been proven to pay themselves back. Oh, but certain types of benefits for employees, it makes them more wholesome. Give me real data over a decent amount of time, and I am more receptive to calling that an investment too. I am open to it. I just want to see data that works instead of pie in the sky that tends to help your friends in your coddled groups. So once again, we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. I would be cutting our spending, and I know that we can cut at least 55%, okay? And that doesn't even touch the education budget, which could be a big cut as well. 55%, which means 0 income tax, okay? That's about the contribution right now that the state income tax brings to their coffers. And it just happens to almost match the amount of spending that I would consider unnecessary. Some of these are for nice things, but those nice things can get funded really easily and better and with more precision privately. I would propose a 30% spending cut in year 1, another 34% in year 2, another 36% in year 3. What's that add up to? 100%. Spending cuts that allow our income tax to go down to 0. 3-0. It's not a good thing for Tom Brady, but it's a very good thing for our fiscal finances. When 100% of our discretionary spending is cut, we are down to what's necessary, and that's all that state government should spend on, the necessary and not the nice. Look, when people keep more of their income, they can fund charities more, okay? Bob Stefanowski didn't make that case well enough. I would. He also didn't want to go fast enough. 8 years and out. I would. 3 and out. It's doable. We just need the will. Good services will be better funded when in private hands. So let me give you 4 more specific things that I think are essential state functions that we should plan to fund maybe a little bit better. 1. Environmental protection, okay? Because we who do individually have property rights, recognize them, property rights in our air and our water. we can't enforce them under the current legal system against predators to our clean air and our clean water. Okay? An individual or even a small neighborhood just can't go up against big polluter. That's where the state, if done well, can help all of us. Mental health is another, and that's because there's an element of mental health that borders on criminality. And it is an essential function of the state to protect us against crime. That's why we come together as a government. 3, disease control. I can't prevent airborne diseases. There's nothing that my community can possibly do here, as well as a tight, focused state organization or well-funded private, but we're not close enough yet to turn that over to private. So it doesn't cost that much. Mosquito Control Council is all of $600,000 a year. Okay, it's minor, but those are things that literally are life and death if you don't do them right. Finally, I would make sure, and that may mean an increase to Husky plans. Okay, Husky is the state's health insurance for poor children. Children can't help themselves whether they are healthy or not. This is generally in the parents' control. So while they're minors, I do think there's a state responsibility to make sure that they are not succumbing to bad diseases. Okay, once you reach majority, no longer. You got to decide for yourself, and you've got to work to protect your own health. You can't expect state government, which means basically our wallets, to do it for you. Taxing these 4 things, which right now comprise 2.5% of the budget. Increase it 40%, you're at 3.5. This is not a big amount. Meanwhile, I would vote to trim or eliminate almost every other area. Trim because there is fat in almost every other area run by the state. You don't see that much in private, you do see it in the state. I would eliminate things because there are those many functions that the state can never do as well. Taxes beyond that, sure, if there's a state emergency, I mean like a World War II level, we were fighting on 2 fronts. People say we can't even do that anymore at the federal level like we did against Germany and Japan. Okay, that kind of national emergency affecting Connecticut, maybe you do have to temporarily spend. To combat terrorism, if it got really vicious, it's bad, but it seems under control enough now. But look, we're all in this to keep our lives and our property intact, and it is a decent function of the state to repel that. And finally, if a dopey General Assembly decides to spend more, okay, we're obligated to not go into debt, all right? Now, it'll be over my prone body in the doorway of the Senate that nobody leaves without stepping over me if they're voting for an unnecessary expense. But if I'm overwhelmed by that, and my allies, which right now I think are too few in the Senate, if my allies and I get overwhelmed, then at least you gotta fund it, because it is evil to foist your spending on future generations. I don't believe in bonding, okay? If you think something needs to be bonded, fund it yourself now. That is an agency. It's not even an agency. It's a group of 10, somewhat elected, otherwise appointed, that want to spend your money. Don't allow it. Keep it in the hands of elected legislators. I look forward to being one of yours.